Good afternoon. I'm George Stephanopoulos at ABC News headquarters in New York, and we have breaking news right now. A verdict in the John Edwards trial. Former presidential candidate facing 6 counts of campaign fraud, up to 30 years in prison, but he has been found not guilty on 1 charge. A hung jury, a deadlock jury, a mistrial on the other 5 charges. He will not be going to jail. This was all in connection with whether he took money from friends and associates to cover up his affair with Mistress Hunter. The jury has decided not guilty on 1 of those counts, did not reach a decision on the others. Let me bring in Dan Abrams, our legal analyst right here. He's not going to prison. They basically decided, at least on this 1 count, that this was a gift, not an illegal campaign contribution.
Or that the prosecution hadn't proved its case. This is great news for John Edwards. John Edwards has got to be thrilled. People may hear hung jury. Could this mean a retrial? Yeah, it might, it could. But the bottom line is 1 not guilty count and 5 hung is a huge win for John Edwards. Because now the question is going to be, are the prosecutors really going to be able to justify spending this kind of money to bring this kind of case? Again, the kind of case that many would argue never should have been brought in the first place.
And Chris Cuomo, 2020 anchor, on this 1 count, this was related to a $200,000 check he received from a wealthy heiress, Bunny Mellon, in 2008, just a week before he suspended his presidential campaign. That was enough for this jury to say, no, it was not related to the campaign primarily.
Arguably the weakest count from the beginning. Small amount of money. Bunny Mellon was much more difficult to reconcile for this jury because the money went through a middle person. Fred Barron was the better side of the prosecution case. But remember, the problem with this trial from the beginning for the prosecution was these were moral crimes on John Edwards. People didn't like how he had behaved. Very different than illegality. And much of this case from the prosecution was about John's behavior, John Edwards' behavior with this affair. That is not a crime.
And the point the defense made again and again and again is that no case like this had ever been brought before.
Right, but that's not the kind of argument you can make in front of the jury. The jury was reading very technical legal definition of the law. Did John Edwards knowingly and willingly do this to influence an election? And that became the key question. Was he doing this to influence the election, or, as the defense claimed, just to cover up an affair? And what if it was a little bit of both? And that became a very important issue that the judge instructed the jurors on.
But according to Chris Cuomo, according to the instructions the judge gave, if it was a little bit of both, that would be enough.
Suspect instruction, I believe the judge here saved the jury by saying, but it couldn't be just a little bit. Right. You really wanted to influence this campaign with what you did with this money, and I think that was tough for them to find. Also, Andrew Young, so important for the prosecution, so weak on the stand, collected so much of the money for himself and his own gain, really hurt the case.
Quick question for both of you. If you're the prosecution, do you bring the case again?
No, I run away.
No way.
Okay, Dan Abrams, Chris Cuomo, thanks very much. Once again, a verdict in the John Edwards trial. He has been found not guilty on 1 charges of illegal campaign contributions. The jury was deadlocked on the other counts. The judge has declared a mistrial. He is not facing prison at this time. We're going to have a full report on World News Tonight, and you can follow this all day long on abcnews.com.